Morning. Today we're going to read a book called Fireflies. Do you know what another name for fireflies is? When I was younger, we used to call them lightning bugs. And I remember, oh my goodness, do I remember, those first couple times we'd be sitting there on our front porch and we'd see the lightning bugs come out of the ground. That was like the best feeling. We knew summer was here and we'd go out and try to catch as many as we could. Have you ever done that? Have you ever caught lightning bugs or fireflies? We used to put ours in a jar. We'd take a hammer with a nail and we kind of put some holes in the top of it so that they could breathe. That was like the best feeling, the best summer memory. You know what I did? I just made a connection. Do you know how we can remember and understand a story? By making connections. My challenge for you in this story is to come up with some connections of your own. Are you ready to read? All right, Fireflies by Julie Brinckloe. And she does the story and the pictures, so she's multi-talented. On a summer evening, I looked up from dinner through the open window to the backyard, just like what we used to do, except we'd be on the front porch. See my connection? It was growing dark. My treehouse was a black shape in the tree, and I wouldn't go up there now. But something flickered there. A moment. I looked, and it was gone. It flickered again, over near the fence. Fireflies! Don't let your dinner get cold, said Mama. She knew what he was going to do. It was time to go catch them, right? I forked the meat and corn and potatoes into my mouth. Please, may I go out? The fireflies. Mama smiled and Daddy nodded. Go ahead, they said. I think they might have said that because they used to do that when they were little. Maybe they made a connection. Oh, here's what I was talking about. Look at those jars. I ran from the table down to the cellar to find a jar. I knew where to look, behind the stairs. We didn't have a collection like that, but we did have a few lying around, so we would use those. There he goes. He's got his jar. The jars were dusty, and I polished one clean on my shirt. Then I ran back up, 2 steps at a time. Holes, I remembered, so they can breathe. And as quietly as I could, so she wouldn't catch me dulling them, I poked holes in the top of the jar with Mama's scissors. See, I didn't use scissors. I took like a nail and a hammer and did it. But don't do that without your parents' permission. It could be dangerous. You know what I was just thinking when we were talking about those? I'm going to go back to this picture. A lot of kids I've seen nowadays, and even my own children, didn't use jars because they have like bug catcher basket things. I know that's what my kids used. I'll have to find a picture of that if I can. I just made a connection. The screen door banged behind me as I ran from the house. If someone said, "Don't slam it," I wasn't listening. I called to my friends in the street, "Fireflies!" But they had come before me with polished jars, and others were coming behind. You know what? This looks like he lives in a neighborhood. I didn't live in a neighborhood. I lived basically out in the country with just my family. So my brothers and sister and I would go catch lightning bugs. The sky was darker now. My ears rang with crickets and my eyes stung from staring too long. I blinked hard as I watched them. Fireflies. Blinking on, blinking off, dipping low, soaring high above my head, making white patterns in the dark. We ran like crazy, barefoot in the grass. Catch them, we cried, grasping at the lights. Ooh, another connection. I love running barefoot in the grass. Suddenly, a voice called out above the others, "I caught one!" And it was my own. I thrust my hand into the jar and spread it open. The jar glowed like moonlight, and I held it in my hands. I felt a tremble of joy and I shouted, I can catch hundreds. He's got a feeling of accomplishment. Then we dashed out, waving our hands in the air like nets, catching 2, 10, hundreds of fireflies, thrusting them into jars, waving our hands for more. They're really having a good time. Then someone called from my house, it's time to come in now. And others called from other houses, and it was over. My friends took jars of fireflies to different homes. I climbed the stairs to my room and set the jar on a table by my bed. Mama kissed me and turned out the light. I caught hundreds, I said. Daddy called from the hallway. See you later, alligator. After a while, crocodile, I called back. I caught hundreds of fireflies. He's very proud of himself. I never was allowed to take my jar to my own bedroom. I think my mom knew that they would maybe keep me up all night, huh? I had to keep mine outside. In the dark, I watched the fireflies from my bed. They blinked off and on, and the jar glowed like moonlight. But it was not the same. The fireflies beat their wings against the glass and fell to the bottom, and they lay there. Not the same as what? The light in the jar turned yellow, like a flashlight left on too long. I tried to swallow, but something in my throat would not go down. And the light grew dimmer, green, like moonlight underwater. Uh-oh, what's happening? I remember that feeling too. I shut my eyes. I shut my eyes tight and put the pillow over my head. They were my fireflies. I caught them. They made moonlight in my jar. But the jar was nearly dark. I flung off the covers. I went to the window, opened the jar, and aimed it at the stars. Fly! What happened there? Why is he letting them go? After all, they are his fireflies, he said. Then the jar began to glow. Green, then gold, then white as the moon. And the fireflies poured out into the night. Fireflies! Blinking on, blinking off, dipping low, soaring high above my head, making circles around the moon, like stars dancing. I held the jar, dark and empty, in my hands. The moonlight and the fireflies swam in my tears. But I could feel myself smiling. Did you make any connections? Do you catch fireflies or lightning bugs? Have you ever caught them in a jar? Did you ever leave them go? I'm wondering why this boy kind of has tears but yet is smiling. It's kind of a different feeling, isn't it? I think he wanted to keep the fireflies because, after all, he was so proud of how many he'd caught. But yet he knew if he kept them, what would happen? Yeah, they probably would die. So even though he's sad because he had to let them go, I think he's happy too. Why do you think he's happy? Because now they can go free. I hope you enjoyed our story. This summer, maybe you can catch some fireflies or lightning bugs on your own. I can't wait to that first night when we can see them coming out of the grass and we'll know it's summer.